It's like we're living in a cage with invisible walls. The wicked zeitgeist of life making grown men crawl on their knees, begging please save us from the boogeymen funded by the CIA, funneled through Arabian banks. Like a shank to the neck, they hit you from the back, no sweat. Hold check and watch us shake and take away your freedom. You really don't need them when you're tucked away safe and protected by FEMA.
United States National Security Advisor Brzezinski. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you.
Thanks for your time, President Nur Muhammad Taraki. And congratulations on your successful Sur revolution. Your People's Democratic Party will represent the Democratic Republic of Afghanistan very well.
Yes. And thank you, Mr. Brzezinski. Now what is your purpose here?
Our American intelligence network indicates the Soviet Union, your domineering neighbor, is poised to implement their socialist control agenda on your government and nation.
Moscow played a major role in our party's unification and our election victory. Moscow is a friend.
Are you at all concerned the Soviets' agenda is not merely to support and partner with your Afghanistan government, but is instead meant to subjugate and conquer the Afghanistan people?
Any aggression by Moscow against Afghanistan will be blinded by a misled jealousy and sheer ignorance. Our mountainous terrain is a death trap, a tar pit for invaders and occupiers. Alexander the Great failed here. Genghis Khan failed here. The British Empire failed here 3 times. Concerning myself with Soviet or any foreign aggression is like an Eskimo concerning herself with an aggressive advertising campaign selling bikinis. I have no need to entertain commie paranoia, like an Eskimo has no need to entertain the myth of conditional self-esteem espoused by Western corporate media. We only get burned if we ignore logic, history, experience, and common sense.
Your Islamic religion calls for a battle, a jihad against infidels. If your country's political autonomy is not an immediate concern, then the spiritual cause must be a motivating concern, correct?
The greater jihad, or struggle, is for the soul. The path to harmony is absolute submission to Allah, God. To accept employment by one group of infidels, the American government, to kill another set of infidels, the Soviet soldiers, is not a path of ascension, it's a train wreck parked on the ocean's unforgiving skin of crashing waves. If you aspire to the only ends any war brings, which is to drown in your own explosive diarrhea, then please go ahead and take a seat on that bullet train to the hell you wish to invoke. I, and my fellow countrymen, have no more desire to choke on your excrement than I would swallow my own poop.
To deny this opportunity is a categorically flagrant mistake. Listen carefully, you either engage a jihad against the Soviets, so the American corporatist ruling class can profiteer on the subsequent drug and arms sales, or the American military forces will kill you, kill your family, and scorch Kabul to dust.
Your vague warning of Moscow has now become a very serious, obvious, and clear threat to me, and to my sovereign nation, from you, an agent of America, a representative of President Jimmy Carter. Please retract and refrain.
The right choice eliminates any political danger to you and your government.
Choice? We win this so-called jihad against the Soviets and you will require us to battle on against other neighbors under the disguise of blue gay men and pretend threats. We lose, and you only hire another pack of desert wolves to puppet. You only offer me the choice between death or slavery to your empire of death dealers and usury Shylocks. Like a discerning child considering a parent's false alternative, going to bed now or in 10 minutes, I don't see any genuine choice. I'm not ready to be put to sleep, and I will not allow my country to be put to sleep on a deathbed of rape and pillage.
There is more choice to consider. From the Soviet hand, the instruments of communism, which are visible shackles. From the American hand, the armaments of democracy, which are the perceptions of political participation and freedom.
From which hand do I, and more importantly, from which hand does the general public have the right to freely submit to, and be directed by God's law, which is always above man's law? Obviously neither. Democracy is where the majority decides right and wrong, thereby methodically converting basic human rights into regulated privileges until a small elite arbitrarily decide how much, of what, for who, when, and where. Democracy is the old Western political system of feudalism, sold as a personally empowering tool of the common people, but the opposite is true. The smallest minority group, the minority of one, the individual, is a slave to the whims of the representative majority, the ruling elite. And this is the best-case scenario under democracy. Considering all the stolen elections, the false left-right paradigm choices, elimination of jury nullification, etc., can the ruling elite of America even be called representative? And if your own people are this misled, then how far will you mislead me, my government, and my country? At least with Moscow and communism there is no illusion, no blind tiptoe towards tyranny and debt slavery to a foreign country. The chains of tyranny are plain to see. Both democracy and communism are blood-soaked roads paved straight to tyranny under the false god of elitist-run government, from far away. But the lesser of these evils requires no illusion.
But you underestimate the power of the greater evil, the illusion of freedom, the illusion of honest elections. It is the illusion that keeps the frog from noticing the water boiling. America will remain a superpower as Moscow spirals into ruins, because physical chains cannot be ignored, yet, concealed, cerebral clamps, the big lie that political change occurs every 4 years, can and does allow the group mind to feel high-spirited that they control what they are in fact enslaved by.
High spirits, or high morale, without morals is the Christian way. Christian leaders long ago sold out their principles and their flocks to governments. All Christian leaders teach, when there is a conflict between government's law and God's law, their followers must obey the government. The popular proclamation of Romans chapter 13. This is why the U.S. military obeyed orders to exterminate their native population, the so-called Indians. This is why the German military obeyed orders to exterminate Jews and other government-defined undesirables. So why don't you call on your American and European Christians to wage a violent, yet government-justified crusade against the Soviets? Why ask our peaceful nation of Afghanistan?
Among other reasons, it is too soon. The colossal Vietnam failure prevents a lucrative crusade strategy to be implemented. Thereby, passive, indirect, American aggression is necessary. For this Cold War between the Soviets and Americans to become hot, as is necessary to please the interests of the military-industrial complex, the international bankers, and the drug cartels, the war must become hot here in Afghanistan, on your land, on the American taxpayer's dime, and when it does, it is a shame if we are not partners and allies.
You clearly underestimate how hot this war will get once set ablaze. It will also, and eventually, consume your nation to dust, financially and infrastructurally, as it does our homes and farmlands. That is what history promises you. Afghanistan is where empires die.
This war consumes the planet and I have not a care. I have no national or religious allegiance. I am an agent of the corporatist agenda. The agenda that is binding the mindless sheeple, the useless eaters, to the will and rule of the elite.
You, like all American psychotic killers, such as Henry Kissinger, may seem honest, clean, and beautifully painted, but at your core you will always be rotten. The blood your military pawns spill, all of it, for all events, intended and unintended, is on your hands forever. Goodbye, Mr. Brzezinski. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you.
Peace is the great evil curse for bankers and for corporatists alike. May peace never exist.
It's time to wake up and open your eyes to the matrix. This is going out to the truth as a patriot.